Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic/Non-Classic. This episode 558 and Doubleshot 464. I have one Marvel trade, one DC trade. Alright? First up, it is a really thick trade. X-Men The Age of Apocalypse Termination. This trade pretty much collects the X-Force 19.1 one-shot, which is written by the Awesome Recommender, the entire Age of Apocalypse ongoing series from Marvel, which lasted 14 issues, along with Extreme X-Men Volume 2, Issues 12 and 13, X-Termination 1 through 2, Astonishing X-Men Volume 3, 60 to 61, and material from the Point 1. Now, simply put, this trade is a combination of three trades. The two volumes of the Age of Apocalypse series and the X-Termination trade. But here's kind of the thing when you have to read this particular comic book. There is several prerequisites you have to read in order to understand the storyline for this thing. You have to read the original crossover, the X-Men Age of Apocalypse miniseries, which picked up right where that was left off, and the Recommender X-Force series, the first 18 issues for it. And that kind of leads into this. And the X-Termination crossover is a follow-up to, I believe it was the Pencilum storyline for X-Force. Yeah, for Kenny X-Force. Yeah, it was the Pencilum storyline involving the Brotherhood of E-Mutants led by Duncan. And of course Nightcrawler turning on them. I have given my thoughts on the X-Termination crossover. It's a really good crossover, despite the fact nobody at Marvel talks about this crossover. Is it terrible? No, it's awesome. Now, the thing with the series is that it picks up right where the way the order of this trade works is that first you have 19.1, which, if you want to have as an issue itself, here's what happens. The X-Men found out what Wanda did in 616, the Age of Apocalypse version of the X-Men, led by Magneto because Charles Xavier's gone. They found out that Wanda had the ability to wipe, where she basically had 90% of mutants lose their powers. They tried to use the same thing on Weapon Omega, aka Logan, also known as Wolverine. Yeah, he apparently, if you read the Dark Angel saga, he became affected by the Death Seed. The Apocalypse Death Seed became the new Apocalypse. And he started to call himself Weapon Omega. And he has his own series of ministers, which basically are his, how should I put this, his Horse of Apocalypse, but they're his ministers. And his ministers are Havoc, Cyclops, Azrael, and I think who else was? Oh yeah, I think it was Dark Beast. Sugarman is in here as well. Also, I should point out though, this series is the last time anyone would ever get a chance to see Sugarman, because as far as I know, he has never returned since then. Though after the series, Dark Beast did return in Brian Michael Bendis and Kenny X-Force series, where he died. I think recently he came back. Though in the case of what happened in 19.1, because the fact apparently the X-Men lost their powers, well, just Jean and Sabretooth did, Weapon Omega, aka Weapon X, as we call it, that's what he was called in this reality, he massacred the X-Men. Yeah, he killed all of them except for Jean, Sabretooth, Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler was not there because he was off in the reality. Sabretooth and Jean Grey were just lucky to survive. Also, I should point out, though, that Rogue and Magneto had a son named Charles. It is never revealed what the heck happened to him. He just disappeared and he was never mentioned again. And of course, you have the Point 1 issue. The Point 1 issues, there's been a few of them over the years. This is the story from the first one, which led to this ongoing series, which introduced the X-Terminator, which consisted of Graydon Creed, who was also called Horror Show, William Stryker, Vanessa Trask, Deadeye, who was the brother of the alternate timeline sister of the guy who took over the Purifiers from William Stryker in the 616 universe. And and there's a character called Goodnight who was Donald Pierce, aka the White King in the Hellfire Club. One of these characters, and one of them is also the daughter of Bolivar Trask, Vanessa Trask. Now, in the case of William Stryker, he has almost nothing in common with his 616 counterpart, aside from the fact he's mildly religious and the fact that he has a similar name. One big difference between the two of them is that William Stryker in the Age of Apocalypse universe is very young. Yeah, he's not like an older guy like he is in 616. He's a very young guy. As for Bellow Trask himself, he does pop up in here a few times. He is basically nothing like he is in 616. The only thing he has in common with 616 counterpart is that he's the creator of the Sentinels. That's it. In the case Donald Pierce, the fact he's a cyborg, and the fact that he was part of this Hellfire Club. That's really it. Graydon Creed, however, has only two things in common with 616 counterpart. One, that his father is Sabretooth, and two, he hates his father. As for who his mother is, I think it's implied it's supposed to be Mystique in this reality. Yeah, it's implied as Mystique, but it's revealed in Kenny X-Force that Mystique is dead. As a matter of fact, a lot of characters who popped up in the Age of Apocalypse crossover are officially dead now. Yeah, that's the weird thing about this story, about this main story. Yeah, the main story of Age of Apocalypse wraps up at issue 12. I kind of felt this, though, when you read this trade, it kind of feels as though, with the exception of issues 13 and 14, it kind of felt like it was more story that the writer of the series, I should point out his name is Daniel Lapham. He writes all 14 issues of the series. He also writes Termination, though he does mostly with also Mark Argelu as well. Recommended just the Kenny X-Force issue. He does pretty much everything else related to this particular series. Now, during the course of the series, if you read just the Extermination crossover, you're thinking, though, why in the world is Graydon Creed in relationship with Jean Grey? Well, you have to read Age of Apocalypse series to figure that out. And you also get a chance to see what happened to the Hulk of this universe, who is called the Incredible Thing. I have no idea why in the world that... Yeah, this was a name that actually was a left... This is what he was called originally. And apparently at this point he has suffered through amnesia. And I think the writer just really wanted to write a Hulk versus Wolverine fight in this universe. And I should point out, though, this is one of three Ultimate Universes where Wolverine actually kills the Hulk. The only two times I've seen this happen is, well, there's a what if issue, what if Wolverine killed the Hulk. I think this was the first volume of the What If series. The only other time I've seen this, aside from here in that What If issue, is Giant Size Old Man Logan #1, where Old Man Logan fought the Hulk and won. He actually killed him. And also, Doctor Doom shows up in here, and he gets killed by Emma Frost. Yeah, that's one thing weird about the Age of Apocalypse universe. He's like, anybody you know gets killed off. And also, they resurrected Colossus, who got killed off toward the end of the Age of Apocalypse crossover. I think it was Magneto killed him. It was right after he killed his wife, Shadowcat. Yeah, this was actually the first reality that these two got married, though. They're going to get married in a few months in X-Men Gold number 30. But the way they... Now, Cyclops and Havoc were killed toward the end of the previous crossover. So, in the case of, well, what Weapon Omega was doing, he was resurrecting dead characters. He already brought back Cyclops, and oh yeah, Azazel was actually his Minister of Death. I'm not kidding about that, he was. There's also instances they could have brought back Madison Jeffries, Jimi Mandrix. I mean, there's a bunch of characters that could have been brought back, but my guess is that... Now, I do have a theory of why in the world that the storyline was a bit rushed. I kind of felt as though that the writer had plans to have the series last more than just 14 issues. You kind of feel as though when you read this actual trade, that maybe the series could last about 24, maybe 50 issues if he wanted to. But my personal theory, the reason why it ended at this particular point, low sales. Yeah, I think this book was not selling too well when it was coming out. Despite the fact it's a really damn good series. If you're a fan of Age of Apocalypse, you would love this series. Despite the fact it's dark. But that's the way Age of Apocalypse universe is. It's a dark alternate timeline where a lot of people are dead. And at the end of the actual series itself, Weapon Omega gets the Apocalypse Seed removed from his body by a pill of all things, which is given to him by his wife, Jean Grey. I should point out, though, this is the only reality where Wolverine and Jean Grey act. One of two realities, because it was actually revealed recently in Renewing Vows that they actually got married and had a kid. In this reality, they had a kid. Yep. Oh, and I should point out though, when she was dating Graydon Creed, she and Logan were separated, so it's fine. And here's the thing about their relationship: she would continue to go out with him if he went to go see his father, despite the fact he hated this man's guts. Yeah. As for why, I don't think the series ever revealed exactly why he hated him. Maybe he abandoned him when he was younger. I have no idea. In the case of 616, they actually do explain why he hates his father, because he's a bigot. In the case this one, there is no reason at all. I think the reason why David Lapper wrote him that way is because, well, he's kind of like that in 616, so have him hate his father in this reality as well, and have both die during the Extermination crossover. Yeah. But this series is amazing, and I highly recommend it for people fans of the X-Men franchise and the Age of Apocalypse crossover. But luckily enough, this trade does list off 3 other trades you can read aside from this one. There is the Age of Apocalypse Dawn, Age of Apocalypse Volume 1 Alpha, Volume 2 Reign, and Omega. Excuse me. And then before we get to this one, read Rick Ramirez and Kenny X-Force series. Read the first 18 issues, then read this, because that kind of basically plants seeds for this series. And then, of course, also read stuff like between issues 12 and 13. Read the rest of the Kenny X-Force series from pretty much like reread the rest of the series from that point forward. And they do reference what happened in the Brotherhood Immune storyline, where the Brotherhood of that unit, that Brotherhood consisted of, get this: Duncan, 616 Sabretooth, Mystique, Age of Apocalypse Blob. Oh, and also Iceman, he turned evil, and he got killed by Nightcrawler in an alternate reality, beat the crap out of him, and shove him in an incinerator. I am not kidding about that. That actually happened in issue 24 of McKinney X-Force. It's kind of like Rick Remender loved killing off characters in that series. In the span of 8 issues, he killed up 10 people in 8 issues. It's crazy. In the case of this series, this killed off several characters. Also, the Age of Apocalypse characters, with the exception of Prophet, they all completely disappeared after this series wrapped up. Even though that the Age of Apocalypse William Checkers in the 616 universe has this would follow up on any X book. Nope. Also, Wolverine gave Dazzler a offer to become a teacher of the Jean Grey Institute for Higher Learning. Does she take him up on the offer? As far as I know, nope. Never happened. At all. As for what happened with Cyclops and, well, Howlett, James Howlett, the 2 alternate versions of them, they say they wouldn't go after Hercules and Tartarus, but as far as I know, that storyline was never followed up on. It's kind of like everybody at Marvel just, like, once this crossover wrapped up, the Extermination crossover wrapped up, they just went their merry way and never mentioned the story ever again. And 2 years after the series wrapped up, we had Secret Wars. And I kept thinking, though, would this be brought up? Nope. Never was. At all. I don't know why. But I'm going to get this a 9.5 out of 10. It's amazing. Just too bad it only lasted 14 issues. But issue 12 actually was the story issue that wrapped up that series. 13 was the last time you got a chance to see Weapon X, because he completely disappeared. He wasn't even in the crossover itself for some strange reason. Yeah, if you read the entire crossover, a lot of the, with the exception of the Exterminated, any character who popped up in that series, like in the Age of Apocalypse series, with the exception of the Exterminated, along with Jean Grey and Sabretooth, aside from them, anybody else who appeared in that particular series, pretty much like, a few of them made cameos at the crossover, but they did pretty much nothing. Not at all. But it is a great series. I highly recommend it. Excuse me. Next up is Justice League versus Suicide Squad. This trade collects the 6-issue limited series of Justice League vs. Suicide Squad, Justice League Volume 3, Issues 12 13, Suicide Squad 9 and 10, and a preview in the backup story from Issue 8. Now, who does each thing? Josh Williamson does the main series itself, Tim Seeley does 2 issues of Justice League, and Suicide Squad is done by Rob Williams, obviously. Tony S. Daniel just does a few of the issues of the main series. Now, there are a few other artists on here. There's a bunch of them. There's also Cy Sperry, who also co-writes Suicide Squad with Rob Williams. Here are the artists aside from Tony S. Daniel on these issues. You have Jason Fabok, an awesome artist. Jesus Marino, Fernando Pessorin, Robinson Ruka, Howard Porter, who is currently, I think, is one of the artists for Flash, Christian Deuce, Riley Rosmo, Scott Eden, Gustapi Cafaro, Gustapi Macaulay, Sandhu Flora, Andy Owens, Matt Ryan, Wayne Flucher, Jay Liston, Danny Cruz, Oliver Albert, and Francisco Matida. Jason Fabok and Alex St. Clair do the cover art for this particular story. Now, I should point out, though, this storyline was responsible for bringing back many characters missing since Flashpoint. Well, in the case of one of them, he did pop up in Pages of Grayson. That was Maxwell Lord. If you didn't read Grayson, you probably wouldn't know that Maxwell Lord was already back in the universe. Also, Checkmate was actually part of that series, and it made perfect sense for Tim Seeley to do his new origin story. After all, he is one of the guys who brought him back to his universe. But this also brought back several characters not been seen in quite a while, like bringing back the real Lobo, Emerald Ham. Now, apparently there was a first Suicide Squad before the Suicide Squad you see in the Rob Williams run, and it consisted of Lobo. Let's see if I can find. I want to get all these names right. It consisted of. Let's see here. If I can find out here. Here we go. These guys consisted of Lobo, Emerald Empress, Dr. Polaris, Johnny Sorrow, rest of him is like one other guy, I think his name is Cybertron. Yeah, he actually died in their first mission. Emerald Empress is a Legion of Superheroes villain. I think this is their first post-Flashpoint appearance. Lobo, this is the actual one, not the pretty Lobo that the DC came up with for some stupid reason. Yeah, there he is in the splash page. Johnny Sorrow, as far as I know, this is his first post-Flash appearance. He's a great character. I'm actually quite happy that Josh Williamson brought it back. Rest of them is the original character, as far as I can tell. Dr. Polaris, this is the second Dr. Polaris. The original was, I think he retired. And of course, their headquarters is the castle, which Checkmate was headquartered out of during Greg Rucka's run for the Checkmate ongoing series. And plus, this series also brought back something that has not been seen since the Black Diamond Probability crossover, the Eclipso Diamond. Yep, the Eclipse Diamond actually made an appearance in here. Now, the Suicide Squad issues, I should point this out though. Issue 8 is basically the prelude to this one. Issue 9 is simply the mission which the first Suicide Squad was involved with. 10 is the epilogue to pretty much this whole entire series. 12 is Maxwell Lord's post-Flashpoint origin story. 13 is what Steve Trevor was up to throughout this whole thing. Now, storyline-wise, this takes place not long after the storyline I Am Suicide from Batman. And I read an article. This is not the first time these two have done these two series in a crossover each other. Keith Kevin J. Demonius did a crossover teamed up with John Oxford to do a crossover back in the late 1980s. A little year into both JLI and Suicide Squad. Excuse me. It's how there's like first found out about Suicide Squad, though that was the JLI version. This is the Brian Hitch version, which consisted of Batman, Superman, Flash, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, Jessica Cruz, and Simon Baz. And what happened to the characters right after this crossover wrapped up? Well, in the case of the first Suicide Squad, Russum popped up in the pages of Suicide Squad, where he got hunted down by them. Johnny Sorrow completely disappeared as far as has popped up since then. And when Empress got moved over to Supergirl for a storyline, Lobo and Killer Frost got moved over to Justice League America, and Maxwell Lord is in Belle Rev. This is one awesome series, and I highly recommend it if you're a fan of classic Justice League stories, and of course, you're a fan of James Robinson or any of these writers on here, like either James Williamson or Tony Estino. After this crossover wrapped up, people really wanted Josh Williamson to write the main Justice League title because Brian Hitch was basically putting out crap on the book, because this was actually felt like a really good Justice League story. And he did get a chance to write Justice League title for one issue, part of the Bats from Hell crossover, as a tie into. I'm trying to think what was. Oh yeah, it was Dark Knight's Middle. Yeah, this storyline is great, and I get this book also at 9.5 out of 10. It's really damn good. Alright, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which will be episode 559 and Doubleshot 465. Okay? Until I see you there. Bye.